George Washington was one of our nation's greatest leaders who displayed courage throughout history. George Washington first gained his courageous reputation in the French and Indian War in 1754. He was only 22 years old when he first began fighting. In a journal entry written to his brother during the war, George Washington wrote, "I heard the bullets whistle, and believe me, there is something charming in the sound." George Washington showed courage by not showing his fear throughout the war. This reputation got George Washington named Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. George Washington led the Continental Army to victory in the Revolutionary War, which earned him the spot as our first President of the United States. He always showed constant courage, always leading his troops from the front and never being protected in the back. We will always remember our courageous first President of the United States. Frederick Douglass was a black man who displayed extreme courage throughout history. As a slave in the South, Frederick Douglass was given no rights and was treated very poorly, just as his ancestors had for many generations. However, he stood up for himself. Frederick Douglass chose to stand up for himself in front of many people, although he knew he could get hurt doing it. This was showing extreme courage. After escaping the South, which was very difficult to do, Frederick Douglass opened his own newspaper, made speeches, and even wrote his own book. Many people would go against this because Frederick Douglass was a black slave, but he stood up for himself and showed courage. People like Frederick Douglass have helped shape our world today due to their courage. Throughout the book To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Atticus Finch displays courage. Atticus Finch, the father of Jem and Scout, displays courage by standing up for a black man in a trial. The entire town of Maycomb goes against Atticus because they don't believe that black people should be stood up for, but he knows what's right. At one point in the book, Atticus tells Jem, "I wanted you to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand. It's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyways, and you see it through." The children are amazed when Atticus shoots a dog in the book because he's holding a gun, and this is what Atticus means. This is not real courage. By the end of the trial, the children truly see what courage is. They realize that Atticus never had a chance of winning the trial, but he went on with it anyways and stood up for what he believed was right. Courageous people such as Atticus move our world forward. In the book My Antonia, Antonia Shimerda shows extreme courage. At a very young age, Antonia is forced to move to an entirely different country in which she does not speak the native language. On top of the many struggles Antonia faces coming to this new country, her father kills himself, which changes her entire life. Antonia is then forced to work in the fields and grow up very quickly, unlike the rest of the children, but she faces this with courage. Antonia stays extremely optimistic and is willing to work. She helps out her entire family. Throughout this rough process, Antonia never shows weakness, and this is true courage.